Angel here again at the Chicken Coop, and today I wanted to show y'all what I'm doing with some apples that I bought that were just a little bit mushy. They weren't that crisp apple that, you know, most people like to eat. So I do the food on Wednesday nights. We have an Awanas program at our church, and I'm kind of responsible for getting the food together. And I had bought some apples on sale at the store. And normally we have, you know, great produce from the store, nothing wrong with the store, but the apples were just a little soft. They weren't just like those crisp, nice apples that people like to eat. So I had these bags of apples left over, 2 bags I guess left over that weren't eaten, and so I was like, oh, what are we gonna do with this? So anyways, I decided to make some applesauce with them. So earlier this morning, I peeled all those apples and cored them and sliced them up, and I've got them in my crock pot over here. So they're cooking to make applesauce. And after, they were just 2 small little bags, and I had, you know, my crock pot is full. You know, it's not like a huge amount or anything like that. But I also had apples peelings that I wanted to do something with. I thought, I am not letting these apples go to waste. Yes, could I feed them to my chickens? Yes, I could do that, but I wanted to do something else for them. And so I'm making apple cider vinegar from my peelings. So I have these wide mouth jars, and I have a it's called Mason Tops kit. Now, I'm not affiliated with them. They did not buy this kit for me. I purchased this kit myself, but this is a kit that I use to make, the only thing I've really fermented is sauerkraut, and I made the apple cider vinegar. So this kit is what I use. And then I've also done sauerkraut like in a big crock and stuff. But since I did have a ton of peelings, I thought this would be a good kit to use. This is nice when you want to just make small batches of things, okay? So the Mason Tops fermenting kit. Okay, so I put the apple peelings inside these jars, and I kind of pressed them down, not like just completely compressed them compact, but I did kind of press them down into the jar. Now, I don't know how much liquid it's going to take to fill these jars because there's really no way of knowing. So what I'm going to do is, it calls for 1 tablespoon of sugar per cup of water. I've got 4 cups of water here that I got out of my filtered water from my refrigerator to filter out the chlorine and stuff. That's one thing that might hinder you making a fermented product, is that the chlorine in the water. So now you're thinking, well, where is this fermentation? This fermentation is going to just happen naturally. Everything in nature has yeast and bacteria that is just found on things. I mean, we have natural bacteria that's on our skin. Fruit is the same way. There's yeast and bacteria in the air. That's what's going to ferment this product. We're not going to add yeast or anything like that. It's going to just be the natural fermentation process of what's in the air. So let me add 4 tablespoons of sugar to this water, and then we're going to work on filling up these jars. So me just kind of estimating, I would think it's going to take about 6 to 8 cups of water to fill up these jars. But that's just my guesstimate, so we'll see how close I am. So now I've just taken a little whisk, and I'm whisking up this sugar. Because if I just poured it and it was suspended all on the bottom, I'm not going to get all that sugar out of the bottom. So I'm just kind of whisking this up so that it's distributed into this water. If I heated it up, it would probably even be better. But okay, so I pretty much had that whisked up in here. We're going to start pouring. All right, let me try. I'm going to do 4 more cups. gonna do 2 more cups. Now some people, so this is a total of, we did 4 cups and then 4 additional cups, and now we're doing 2 cups. So it's gonna be a total of 10 cups of water. Now some people might say, well, why didn't you fill up the jars more and then it wouldn't have taken as much water? But you're wanting to make vinegar. You're not wanting to make the apple peels, you're wanting to make vinegar. So the amount of fluid that you put in there is gonna be kind of indicative of how much vinegar you're gonna make. But you do need the apples, so it's kind of a fine line about how much liquid to how much apple peeling. So I had about, you know, half of a jar of apple peelings kind of mushed in there. But if you fill it up too much and just press and press and press and press and press, the apple peelings down in there, you're eventually going to, you know, not have any space for any liquid. So you've got to leave yourself some space for liquid to actually make the vinegar out of. Okay, so I've got this. And I'm leaving me a little bit of headroom because we're going to drop these weights in here. Now these are some glass weights, and what they're going to do is they're going to hold the apple peelings underneath the liquid. The liquid is what's going to keep the apples underneath the water so they don't mold and all that kind of stuff. Now, I seem to find when I make my sauerkraut and things like this, that because I guess we live in more humid climate, it's a more warm climate, even though it's indoors and we have our air conditioner going, that we do create a lot more mold on top. The mold that you created is not bad. If you get some mold on top, all you have to do is skim that mold off. But I find that it creates less mold if every day, every other day, I come in here and take these off, take the weights out, and kind of stir this up a little bit. And it seems to ferment faster that way by me doing that. I don't know if that's necessarily something that everyone would experience, but from my experience, that's what helps me, is when I'm more successful with making my sauerkraut and my fermented things. If I come in here and kind of stir this liquid and stuff up, then press the apples back down up underneath the liquid, replace the weights, that sort of thing. That's just more successful for me, okay? So I'm going to drop these weights in here and try to get as much of the apples up underneath this water. Now, you're not going to be able to get all of it up underneath there because you're going to have little bits and pieces of apples floating. But for the most part, if you can get the majority of the apples, see, like I didn't do very good there. There's some peeling. Sometimes you might just have to play with it. So like here's some big pieces floating up. I'm just going to move them to a different jar. And then I have a little bit more liquid left, and I've got a little room in all these jars, so I'm just going to kind of top them up a little bit, just since wasting this liquid. All right, so the next step is to put these little silicone lids on there, and they're kind of like a nipple on a bottle, and they've kind of got like a little X in the middle of them that allows air to get in them. And also with this fermentation, it's going to create some gas, and that will allow the air to come out of these jars. What I don't have, I forgot to get, is the rings for these jars. So let me go get the rings. Right, so we're just going to screw these rings on. They don't have to be real tight or anything like that. It just helps hold that silicone lid on. Now, if you don't have this little silicone lid on here, what you can also do is get like a cotton dishcloth, like a tea towel. Let me see. You know, like a cotton, real thin cotton dish towel. You could use muslin, that kind of thing, and you could put that over with a rubber band. That will work as well. You can also put a regular canning lid on here, put it on here kind of loosely, and every day open it up and kind of let the air out. You can do that. It's just a lot of trouble. You have to stay on top of it a lot more. But that is something that you can do if you don't have this little nipple thing on here. You can just use your regular canning lid, put it on here kind of loosely, and then every day kind of unscrew your jar and let that air come out of your jar. Now, what you're going to do with this, you're going to let it sit on your countertop in kind of a dark place. You might put a tea towel over it. And you also, because these might, the gas might build up and push out some of the liquid, you might lose a little liquid out of this, so it might make a mess. So it might be good to put it on like a baking tray or a plate or something like that to catch any liquid that might come out, because that can happen as well. But I usually just leave it on my counter here so that I can, you know, watch it, stir it up, have it, you know, I don't put it away where I forget about it. And it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to make your apple cider vinegar. And I would just have it on my counter, cover it up with a tea towel so that light and everything doesn't get to it as much. And then in about 4 to 6 weeks, you have your fermented apple peelings and you have apple cider vinegar. So thanks for visiting with me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.